So good morning, students. Am I audible? Okay, good. So those who are you are not using register number as their names. Change your numbers. So there are two people like Redmi and 510. I think these two people need to change your names. So in the next 2 minutes, I'm going to start the class. Just let's wait for 2 minutes. So before starting today's session, let me remind you what are the topics that we discussed in yesterday's class. So in last class we have discussed what is exactly a computer network. That means we saw a little bit introduction to computer networks, followed by what are the applications of computer networks, followed by what are the different participants involved in computer networks in terms of network hardware. Now in this class we are going to discuss about network software. Okay, so since most of the students are here, let me start the content. So in today's discussion, we are going to see the network software. In network software, we are going to discuss about the three major components. So one is the protocol hierarchy. The second one is what are the design issues you must take care when you design a software for a network service. Okay, and there are two types of communications involved. So one is connection oriented and another one is connectionless. So what is the difference between these two things in terms of software? So these three things, and along with them, what is the relation between we are going to use two terms, service and protocol. So what is the relation between service and protocol? What is meant by service, what is meant by protocol, and what is the relation between those two? So these four things we are going to discuss in this particular class. Okay, so I repeat: protocol hierarchy, design issues, connection oriented versus connectionless, and relationship between services and protocol. Okay, so let's start with what is meant by protocol hierarchy. So protocol hierarchy, as you can see, there is two terms. One is protocol, another one is hierarchy. So first, let's make you familiar with these terms. So protocol. So so these terms are used in real world in different scenarios. For example, when a minister convoy is going on, they are going to say, so a protocol must be followed when we provide security for that convoy, yes or no? So such things, so that means there are rules and regulations to be followed when you are doing some work. In the same way, in computer networks, so an agreement between the communicating parties. Let's say I am taking a class to you. So what are the rules and regulations I am going to follow when I am taking a class to you? Okay. So at the same time, so when you are attending the class, what are the rules and regulations you must follow while attending a particular class? That means we are communicating with one another. So what are the rules and regulations we are going to follow while performing a certain task? Okay. So these are the basic definitions for protocol. So as you can see, I repeat, so an agreement between communicating parties on how to communication, how the communication proceeds. Okay, or a set of rules governs the communication. So you can't. So someone is saying my voice is breaking. So others, can you confirm that whether voice is or not? Is it breaking or is it audible? Okay, just give me a minute. I'm going to change the. Uh, so is it good now? Am I audible? So no breaking now, right? Okay, good. So let me continue. So a protocol, let me repeat, a protocol is an agreement between two communicating parties. Okay. So even when you call someone, you are agreeing, your device, that means your smartphone, let's say, is agreeing, making some agreements with the other person's smartphone. Okay. So those things may not be visible to you, but they are happening inside before starting your communication. So a simple thing is say when you want to call someone, you need to dial the number properly. If he is a local, he is a person in the local, I mean, falls under local category, then you need to just type the number, the 10-digit number. If he falls under non-local category, you are going to add a zero in front of it. If he belongs to some other country, you are going to add the country code +91 for our India. So like that, that is one simple step, an agreement between all the mobile users, all the telephone users around the world that are making with one another. So when you are going to make a call, you are going to follow these rules. So if he is a local person, you are going to simply type the 10-digit number. If he is a non-local person, you are going to add zero. If he is a person from other country, you are going to add his country code. So this is one basic agreement. So like that, there are many different agreements that are happening inside your mobile call. Okay, in the same way, every communication in computer network involves a set of rules. So these rules are called protocols. Okay, so there is not just one protocol involved, there are set of protocols involved that we are going to see. And coming to service, so what is the purpose of these protocols? As I said, all these protocols are going to provide you communication. So what type of communication you are doing, whether you are simply sending a small text message, or whether you are sending a audio clip, or you are sending a video clip, or you are doing some audio call, or you are doing some video call. So depending on what type of communication you are doing, the services are different. In the same way, in our computer networks, uh, an application that provides these following services, that means data storage, manipulation, presentation, communication. So all these things falls under network services. So if you see the examples for network services, you can see a normal web service and a secured web service. You may not be familiar with these two things separately, but you are using them. When you open a website, if you are seeing HTTP in the beginning, then it is simply a normal web service which is not secure. If you see HTTPS in front of your URL, then you can say it is a secured web service. So a web service is one type of communication. Email is another type of communication. A file server, okay, a server which will not provide you any web service or email service, but it provides you just some files that you can download from it. And a remote login service, that means, see, when you are using putty in our labs, so you are going to open putty and you are going to enter the IP address of the Linux server, and you are going to access an account in that Linux server. That is nothing but remote login. So it is one type of services. And instant messaging, that means if you take WhatsApp or a messenger in Facebook or a messenger in Gmail, all these things falls under instant messaging. And video conferencing and video broadcasting, VoIP calls, that means the audio calls over internet. That means nothing but the calls that you are making now through WhatsApp, or the call that you are making now through the Google. Okay, so all these things falls under VoIP calls. And the next one is gaming. So all these things are services of computer networks, but they are completely different with respect to one another. So what is the difference between these services here? So if I tell you simply, when you open a web page, uh, the web page contains, let's say, 10 lines. So you may not get the 10 lines in the same order. Okay, you may get the first line followed by some third line, fourth line. Say if you open Facebook page, for example, you will not get the Facebook page line by line properly. So what happens is, first in the Facebook page you will be getting the borders, and who is the person that shared that particular message. Then it is going to load what is the message that is shared by that particular person. If he is sharing some video, the video is going to take some time to load. So all these things are different. Okay, if you say this is our video conferencing, the Zoom application that we are using is providing video conferencing. So this video conferencing is separately a new service. Here the order and timing is very important. So these things are falls under real-time communication. So video conferencing and VoIP calls and video broadcasting, So these things falls under real-time communication. In real-time communication, timing is very important. Okay, and you can't simply wait for a certain packet, a certain, say, when you are playing a video is nothing but a continuous frames of images. Okay, so let's say when you are seeing a movie, if you are not able to see, if a frame in the middle of your movie is not downloaded till that particular part, when you are watching a movie in YouTube, you can wait. Okay, but when you are using the same thing in video conferencing, you can't wait for a frame. So when I saying something, if due to your network connection, if some frame is lost in between, you can't wait for that frame, you need to continue from the next frame onwards, otherwise you will lose sync from me, sir. No, so that is the reason the services, the types of services will be, I mean, these services will be handled in different ways. You can't use the same program, let's say, to provide all the service. You can't use the same network service to get all these examples. So the network services must be different. Network service is different means the protocols must be different. So when I use normal web service, I will follow certain rules and regulations. When I use secured web service, I will follow certain rules and regulations. And when I follow video conferencing, I will use another set of rules and regulations. So video conferencing and video broadcasting is completely different. So video conferencing, you can't wait. In video broadcasting, you can wait. Okay, in VoIP calls you can't wait, but in instant messaging you can wait. In gaming you cannot wait. Let's say when you are playing, for example, everyone is familiar with the game PUBG. When you are playing, if due to some technical issue, if something is missed in your data reception, your game must continue from the next path. Otherwise, someone shoots you, you don't know. After sometimes you will realize that someone shot you and you are dead in the game. So that is very important there. So gaming is a very, I mean, you can say is above all of all the remaining services that I am showing here. Okay, so any service that is provided by will be clearly following a set of rules and regulations. Okay, so I am saying a set of rules, not just one rule. So that's the reason I'm saying protocol. So every service will be depending on a set of protocols. Okay, so clear with this particular slide? Guys, whenever I raise a question, you better answer that in the chat box. So clear with this particular slide, what is meant by protocol, what is meant by service? Okay, good. So now we are going to see in depth about the protocol hierarchy. So uh, actually the network software is not just one single program. See, network software designed as a stack of layers. So before understanding what is meant by layers, let me tell you one example. Let you imagine this network service is a program. Okay, so the what normally a program will do, a program will take inputs from the user. Okay, it will process those inputs and it will generate outputs. Yes or no? When you execute a program, the program will take inputs from the user, it will execute, it will process those inputs and do something on that inputs. Okay, and it will generate output. Okay, but here our program will take inputs from the user. Okay, does some processing, but it will not just give you an output in the same format. Instead of that, it is going to give you an output that is either in electrical signals or electromagnetic signals or light waves as output. That means your program involves both software and hardware. Okay, so it will take inputs from the user, it will process those inputs, and it will convert that input into either electrical signals or electromagnetic signals or light waves, and it will generate those things as outputs. So this is a program. Now imagine, so everyone is familiar with C programming. I mean, everyone is familiar with normal programming, right? So you learned C, you learned C++, you learned data structures, you learned Python. So everyone is familiar with the concept of functions, modules, object-oriented programming. Yes or no? Okay. Now, just imagine you can write a program, but you can't use functions, you can't use modules, you can't use objects. Okay. I mean, it is not an object-oriented program. You need to write a simple program uh, which can't use functions. So you know the purpose of functions is to avoid repeated coding. Okay, whenever a task is repeatedly done, instead of writing the code again and again and again, you can use function. You can write that code separately, and you can call that function whenever you want. But just imagine you can't use a function, then your program will become complex. Yes or no? So if a program is a continuous program, a single layer, there is no functions. Your entire program is just main program is there in your, I mean, in your program, there is only the main function. There is no other functions defined by you. Then what happens? The entire program will be a single step. That means in the first step, you will take input, you will do the processing. In the last step, you will generate the output. Yes or no? So if you imagine your network service is like that. A network service is a program which takes input, which generates output. Now, if the entire network service is a single layer, then you can see the difficulty. Okay, that means as you can see here, if you want to provide, say in the last slide, we saw how many different services we have. We have a normal web service, we have secured web service, we have email, we have file server, we have remote login, we have instant messaging, video conferencing, video broadcasting, etc., etc. So if I am using a single program to provide a service, then I need to create so many such programs. So for example, this is one program for providing service 1, this is for service 2, this is for service 3, service 4, service 5, like that. So which consumes so much memory in your disk, first thing. Second thing, this makes the entire designing process very complex. Okay, so instead of like this, if you, so this is the drawback, as I said. So the drawback of single layer is design complexity is very high. So instead of that, if you combine all the programs into one program and divide that program into functions and modules, so what happens? Your program will look like something like this. So that means I divided my program into 3 layers. So layer 1 has multiple functions. Okay. Layer 2 has multiple functions. Layer 3 has multiple functions. What is meant by this? When input comes, it will either choose layer 1's first function or layer 1's second function, layer 1's third function, layer 1's fourth function, depending on what type of service I am providing. Okay. Then so that means the input will let's say go through L12. Okay, then L12 function, that means layer 1 function to generate some output. Let's say that output is given to layer 2's function 1. Okay, then the output of this function is given to layer 3 function 3. Okay, so if I follow such mechanism, can anyone tell me how many different types of services can I provide by using such uh, approach, by using such architecture? So in the first layer, I can provide 4 services. In the second layer, I can provide 3 services. In third layer, I can provide 6 different services. Okay, combinedly, I am able to provide 72 different combinations. That means I can provide 72 different types of services. It's not 3, it is not 13. it is 72. Okay, everyone is familiar with probability. So you have three baskets. In one basket you have four balls. In the second basket you have three balls. In the third basket you have six balls. So you need to choose one ball from each basket. So how many different ways of choosing those balls? That is nothing but 4 into 3 into 6. That is 72 different ways. Yes or no? 4C1 into 3C1 into 6C1. That is 72. So 70. See, whenever you give a reply, you better give it as visible to everyone, not just to me. Okay. So it's not a bad thing. No one will say anything like in class. Okay. No need to feel shy and no need to fear anyone. Okay. Now, so if you are familiar with the probability, you can easily understand what is meant by 4 into 3 into 6, that is equal to 72. So from this set of protocols, that means services, I can provide 72 types of overall service to a user. A user will be here who is providing inputs, and a medium will be here that is taking output. So you gave inputs to the top layer, and you are choosing one of these four protocols, that means four functions. You are providing a part of the service. Then it is given to the next layer, which is having three functions, three protocols. Out of these three, you are choosing one protocol. Then it is finishing another part of the process and service. Then it is given to the third layer. This third layer is choosing one of these six services. So at the end, your input is passed through all these three layers and coming out as a signal. So by following such mechanism, you are able to provide 72 different types of services. Previously, in our last slide, to provide just 5 services, we need 5 different programs. Now, we need a single program which is having totally 13 different functions in it, but providing 72 different services. Now you can see how improved you have become. Previously you need 72 programs for 72 services. Now you need a program with 13 functions to provide 72 services. That is the beauty of having this layered architecture. Okay, so you need to be clear with this architecture, then only you are going to understand all the remaining topics in this unit and the coming units. If you are not clear with this particular concept, it is very difficult to understand the coming topics. Okay, so the network software is a layered architecture with multiple products. So these things that you are seeing in each layer is protocol. So this is protocol 1, protocol 2, protocol 3, protocol 4 of layer 1. This is 1, 2, 3 of layer 2. This is 6 protocols of layer 3. So now we are not calling them as functions, we are calling them as protocols. So a protocol will provide a part of the service. A set of protocols combinedly provides the overall service. So remember these two things. A set of protocols will provide the overall service. A single protocol will provide a part of the service. So these protocols are layered in your network software. Clear? Guys, is it clear or not? If you want me to explain again, I will explain, but you need to ask. Okay, clear. So that is the difference of having a single layer and having these multiple layers. Now, but this is not you are not involving only one entity in a communication. Your communication involves two entities. That means there will be one sender and there will be one receiver. So sender will be giving inputs to such protocol. In the receiver, he need to do the reverse of this process. Okay, and the sender side, let's say sender software is nothing but a translator which translates English to Hindi. Okay, at the receiving side, the receiver can only understand Telugu, so there the software need to convert Hindi to Telugu back. Or let's say he is also English, but the medium can't carry nothing but Hindi, so English to Hindi translation happens on the sender. At the receiver, Hindi to English translation, retranslation must happen again. So a protocol suits will be something like this. So this is sender, this is receiver, this is communication medium between sender and receiver. Just imagine there is no connecting devices, so sender and receiver directly connected with a communication medium for now. So a sender will give input to his own software. Okay, same such software will be there on the receiving side, or a little bit different software depending on what type of system he is using, or what type of things that are involved at the other end. So your message will go through L12 and L21 and L33. Okay, a signal will be coming out of the software, okay, and hardware. So the signal will go through the communication medium to the receiver. So in the receiver, the information will travel from uh, bottom to top. So on the sender side, the information will move from top to bottom. On the receiver side, the information will move from bottom to top. Okay, I can't just say server and client. Okay, because if you imagine this as client and this as server, it involves two-way communication. That means from client, first the communication will go like this. Let me change the color so that it will be visible more. So on the sender, client server communication, first from the client to the server, a request will go like this. Then a reply will come, maybe following the same way or following different set of protocols. Okay, so that means through layer 3, 4, like this. So this red color represents the communication from client to server. If you imagine this is client and this is server, how we define path as you saw. So that is not you are going to decide, that is the software is going to decide, that we are going to see next. Okay, so here you have no control over completely over what type of protocols you are going to select. Say, see someone asks, see when you ask a question, if you ask that question in a way that open to everyone, there is no need to mention that everyone. So 5G to ask that how we define path as I show. That means here I choose L1 to L21, L33. So how I am going to decide? For now, I am deciding, but actually the software is going to decide. So the software is going to decide which set of protocols in which protocol in each layer is going to be used for the communication. Okay, so I am not going to decide. So here, for example, I am deciding here. So L12 is chosen on the sender side, then L21, then L33. So the communication like that. So now the reverse operation must be done. I convert in one format to signal. Now I need to convert signal back to the same format so that the receiver will understand that. So the data will move from bottom to top. So it will first will be received by the L33 program. Now L33 will do the reverse. So it will convert the signal. So it will reverse this part of the process. Then here L21 will reverse this part of the process, sender's L21. Then this L12 will reverse sender's L12 operation. So system 2 will get whatever is sent by system 1 as it is. That means when you send a message through WhatsApp, for example, you send come to so and so, let's go to a movie to your friend. So you sent let's go to a movie. it is converted into zeros and ones. Then it is I mean since it is a message, let's say this first layer is translator, the second layer is which type of communication you are doing, the third layer is which communication medium you are using, let's say. So you sent let's go to a movie, the message, and L1 to converted it into zeros and ones. L21 said that this is an instant message. So let's intimate that. Okay, so it added few informations to that L21, then it gave that information to L33 because the communication medium is, let's say, wireless Wi-Fi, or let's say your mobile communication. Now the receiver will get that signal, electromagnetic wireless signal, so it will convert it into ones and zeros with so and so information. Okay, so L21 will have that information. Yeah, it's something like encoder and decoder as said by 5H1. But this encoding and encoding means yeah, we'll understand it in the coming classes what exactly the difference here when compared to encoder and decoder, but it is something like that. Okay, so all these layers will encode the message into signals, all these layers will decode the message back to the same let's go to a movie, an English text. Okay, so that is why we are using this layered architecture, but this is not the exact layered architecture. So this I draw just to make you understand what is happening. Okay, now so this layered concept is able to provide these services. Okay, if you are familiar with object oriented programming, having objects will provide you information hiding, data abstract data types and data encapsulation. In the same way, in our layered concept, as you can see here, whatever is happening in layer 1, so layer 1 is taking input from the user, so layer 1 is only knowing what is the input. So layer 2 will not be knowing what is the input given by the user, it only gets zeros and ones, so information is hidden now. So layer 2 1 will do something. Now layer 3 is not knows, okay, which protocol on layer 1 gave the information. So layer 3 not even knows that it came from L12. It only knows that I got some zeros and ones, I need to convert them into some electromagnetic signals. Okay, so in the layered concept, it provides information hiding, it provides abstract data types, it provides data encapsulation like your object oriented program. Okay, so the entities comprising the corresponding layers on different machines are called peers. That means if you look at this particular layered architecture, now previously we saw only 3 layers, now let's say you have 5 layers in your communication. So 5 layers means the input will be given on the host side, let's say. So host side in layer 5 you have multiple protocols, so you will choose one protocol and your data will be processed and it will be given to layer 4. Okay, then here the data will be processed and it will be given to layer 3, then it will be given to layer 2, then it will be given to layer 1, and the layer 1 will give it to medium will deliver that information to layer 1 on the receiving side. Remember, the numbering will be done from bottom to top, not from top to bottom in our computer network. Okay, so layer 1 will give the data to layer 2, layer 2 will give data to layer 3, layer 3 will give data to layer 4, layer 4 will give data to layer 5. So as this H1 said previously, so it is here encoding will be happening, and on the receiving side decoding will be happening. Now let's say in layer 5, protocol 2, let's say P2 in layer 5 is communicating with P2 in layer 5 on the receiving side, but the communication is not direct, the communication is happening through these layers. Okay, but user's perspective in terms of sender and receiver, they will think that it will appear like the information is going from layer 5 of host 1 to layer 5 of host 2, but the information is going through all these layers. Again, Phaeton asked a question, sir, how would physical medium knows which system it needs to send data? Again, I said we are going to come to all these topics in the next slide itself. I am going to discuss that. Don't worry. Okay. So here the information will move from layer to layer through the till the bottom layer. Then it will go to the physical medium. Then it will be delivered to the receiving side system. Then it will be going through the layers in the reverse order. Then it will be delivered to the receiver. Now, for layer for the sender, it appears that like protocol 2 in layer 5 is communicating with protocol 2 in layer 5 of host 2. Okay, but for layer 5 it appears that protocol in layer 4 is communicating with protocol in layer 4 on the receiving side. But for layer 4 it appears that the communication is happening between layer 3s, but for layer 3 it is looks like it is happening between layer 2, but for layer 2 it is happening between layer 1, but layer 1 will have the actual understanding the communication is happening between physical medium. Now the protocol P2 and P2 in layer 5 are called peers. So the two protocols in the same layers on the sender and receiving sides are called peers. So such communication is called peer-to-peer communication, which is an imaginary communication, virtual communication, not physical communication. So the physical communication path is like this. Okay, these dotted lines represents virtual communication between peers to peers. That means protocol in one layer to protocol in another layer, sending message 5H1, sending message from one computer to another computer. Yeah. Okay. So for you, it may look like, see, in your WhatsApp, it may look like your WhatsApp messenger is sending a message to your friend's WhatsApp messenger, but the WhatsApp messenger is going to give that information to your service providers, transmitter in your mobile. Okay, so your transmitter is going to forward that to the cell tower. The cell tower is going to forward it to the base station. From there it is going to go to the server. From server it is going to the receiver's cell tower's mobile. Okay, receiver's mobile cell tower. From there it is going to the receiver's decoder receiver. From there it is going to the receiver's application. So all these things are not visible to you, but they are happening there. But to your eyes it looks like the message is simply going from your application to the your friend's application. So that is what is information hiding. Okay, so here all the internal working is hidden from the current layer. Okay, so layer 5 will only think that I need some service, I will give the data to layer 4. Layer 4 will provide the service, that's it. But layer 4 will take the help of layer 3. Layer 3 will take the help of layer 2. Layer 2 will take the help of layer 1. Layer 1 will be going to provide, finish the entire service. Okay, so taking help means it will take part of the help, part of the service. Okay, if you take the entire service as one, say layer 5 will provide 20% of the service and it will take the help of layer 4 for the remaining 80%. Layer 4 will provide 20%, that will take the layer 3 help for remaining 60%. Layer 2 will provide, layer 3 will take the help of layer 2 for 40%. Layer 2 will provide 20 and it will take the help of layer 1 for the remaining 20%. So that is how they were going to share the work. Okay. So a set of layers and protocols is called network architecture. So when you are asked explain about network architecture, you need to start with this particular diagram. So a layered architecture, remember. So every layer is having an interface with the other layer. So this interface is going to tell so how layer 5 need to give the data and how layer 4 is going to take the data. Okay, so they act as gates between 5 and 4. In the same way, there is an interface between 4 and 3. There is an interface between 3 and 2. Okay. As long as you give the data in the prescribed format, the bottom layer will finish your work. Okay. There is no need to worry how those layers are going to finish that work. They are going to finish that work. That's it. So in these layers, normally every layer is having multiple protocols, so they are going to use one protocol of that layer. So how the receiver will know? So previously someone asked me how I am able to track the path through that architecture in a specific manner. So who will tell me that is sender is going to decide what is the path, sender side software. Receiver side software is going to follow the same path. Now here, sender choose, let's say, protocol 2 in layer 5, protocol 3 in layer 4, protocol 1 in layer 3, and protocol 2 in layer 2, and protocol 6 in layer 1. So what is happening now is sender message will be generated in the specific format. So layer 5 means top layer, which is communicating with the user. That means your web, your, let's say, WhatsApp application. The WhatsApp application is taking a message and it is converting it into zeros and ones, and it is giving it to the next layer. So next layer, so 2 means WhatsApp, let's say. 1 means, let's say, Facebook. Okay. 2 means, let's say, WhatsApp. So you choose it to, and you gave that information to layer 4. Now layer 4 chose a protocol 3 in its layer. So at the receiving side, to tell to the layer 4 on the receiving side that I used so and so protocol, that is 3, what you are doing is you are adding one header. So this header will carry that information. Okay, this header, part of the work of this header is what has happened on the sender side to the information in that layer, so that the receiver can do the reverse of that operation. Okay, in the same way, here in layer 3, it added another header. This is, let's say, header 3 belongs to layer 3. Now this header is going to tell layer 3 of receiver what to do with that data. Okay, and in some layers, even you are going to split the data. That means, say, when you are sending a video through WhatsApp, your video will not go in a single go like your message. It will take some time to upload. That means it will take multiple messages to send a single video. So in some layers, your information is going to be splitted into multiple parts. Okay, then in the second layer, in some layers, you are even going to add not just headers, some tailors also. So these purpose of these tails are services like error correction. So you are correcting, you need to correct or detect errors, so error control mechanism. So such things will be added here. So I am sending this information. Okay, I have done something, okay, that you can see from this H2, and I am also adding a tail which will help you to identify whether this information is right or wrong that you received. You sent 101, but receiver received 100. You sent 101, the receiver received 100 due to some technical issue. So how he is able to identify that? So who will help? So this T2, which is came along with this 100, will help him to correct it. So when the information moves from top layer to bottom layer, headers are going to be added. Okay, so when the data moves from top layer to bottom layer, headers are going to be added, and when the information moves from bottom layer to the top layer, the headers are going to be removed. Okay, so on the sender side, always the headers will be added. On the receiver side, the headers will be removed. Okay, on the sender side, data will be encoded. On the receiving side, data will be decoded. Clear? Clear with these concepts? Yeah, 5H1. So on the receiving side, as I said, say in layer 3, for example, H3 will be there, header. Layer 3 is adding H3. So on the layer 3 on the receiving side, this H3 will do how to reverse the process. So the layer will reverse it. Are you able to understand what I am saying? H1. So no reverse process. So H3 will tell what happened on the sender side. So this H3 will help the receiver what to do, how to reverse the process. So reversing will be happening here. H2 to 1. See, I am talking about sender to receiver. Now let's say if it is means sender means in one-way communication, in two-way communication, uh, when let me draw a small diagram here. So this is host 1, this is host 2. Okay, let me tell, this is H1, this is H2. So in the first, always the communication starts from someone. Okay, so H1 will send the data to H2. So during this communication, H1 will be the sender, H2 will be the receiver, and H2 gave a reply. During this reply, H2 is going to be the sender, H1 is going to be the receiver. Okay. So when I say sender and receiver, I am not talking about clients and server. I am not talking about hosts. I am saying sender means who is sending that particular message. Receiver means who is receiving that particular message. It is not meant by client or server. Now, so many of you already raised these issues. I'm going to discuss the issues with a network software. That means when you are designing a software, for example, you are all CSE people, so you are going to design softwares in the future. If you are designing a network software, so what are the issues you need to take care? So that we are going to see. So reliability is one particular thing we need actually. So when you send a message, you need a reliable, you need this particular service. Reliability must be there in that communication. When you send hi, hello, how are you, your friend must receive hi, hello, how are you. Okay, but he must not receive something else. Okay, when you say, someone asked me a question, sir, if two people communicating in WhatsApp and one person goes offline and second person sends a message after first person is offline, then what happens to the message where it stays until the first person is online? So it will be staying in the server. So a good question asked by 510. I'm posting the question to everyone so that okay, I'm not able to copy. See, 510, you better ask that question to everyone. I'm not able to copy and paste it. You put the message again. So when you send a message, see, it is not just device to device communication that is happening when you use WhatsApp or Facebook or Gmail. So it is a client server communication. So when your mobile sends a message to your friend's mobile, the communication is not happening like this. There will be a server, a WhatsApp server. So the message is going to this WhatsApp server, and the message is forwarded to this WhatsApp server. Okay, so this WhatsApp server is going to hold that message till your friend comes to online. Okay, later also it is going to hold it, because your friend may uninstall and install its WhatsApp, so you will be able to retrieve all the information as long as that information is there on this particular server. So this is the reason why previously the Facebook owner uh, was called to US, called by US law enforcement to answer an issue. So there is an allegation that the Facebook is stealing your data. That means when you send a message from your Facebook page to your friend's Facebook page, uh, it is going through the Facebook server. So a copy of your message will be there in the Facebook server, but whether that copy is in the visible format or encrypted, that we don't know actually. They say it is encrypted, but we don't know whether it is really encrypted or they are able to get your message or not. Now WhatsApp is also belongs to Facebook, so again the same thing. So when you send a message, whether the server, the people that are handling the server is able to see that message or not, that we don't know for now. They say it is not visible to them because they are using encryption, but we are not sure whether it is visible to them or not. So if two people come, yeah. Now let me come back to my topic. So the first design issue you need to handle is reliability. So reliability means when when you send a message, your friend must receive a message. Let's say a simple message. You ask your father to send deposit something like 5,000 rupees in your account. Okay. Due to some mistake, your father received a message saying that deposit 500 rupees to your account. Okay. What happens? Since he received a message from you saying that deposit 500 rupees, he will deposit only 500 rupees. But you will think that I sent 5,000, why his father only deposited 500? Sir, no. That is because there is no reliability in that communication. You need reliability. That means when you send a message, the message must be delivered as it is to the receiver without changing anything. So in our network software, we have two different layers who will take care of this reliability in two different levels. Okay. Then routing. So just now I draw a figure saying that when you send a message from your mobile to your friend's mobile, the message is going to WhatsApp server. From WhatsApp server, it is going to your friend's mobile. But is that server directly connected to your mobile and your friend's mobile? No. Between you and the server, there are thousands of devices. Not even thousand, you can say sometimes lakhs of devices. You don't even know where exactly the WhatsApp server nearer to is located. Say, imagine if that server is located in Mumbai, from your device to Mumbai, there are so many devices in between you. So, how this information is going through that? So, previously, someone asked me uh, how the physical layer will know where to give that message. Okay, so there are more number of devices connected to the internet than the number of humans on the world, okay, on the globe. Now these many crores of devices are there, so how your physical medium will know which device it is going to deliver? So in route, one layer is there who will take care of this routing with the help of addressing, IP addresses. Okay, someone asked me another question. Why only in two different layers can we use more than two? So, see, we divided. So, one person asked me this question 5H4. Why only two layers provides error control mechanism? Why can't all the layers provide error control mechanism? So, the purpose of dividing the entire program into multiple layers is to sharing the work. If you do the same work in all layers, what is the use of that? That is the reason only two layers, in two levels we are going to provide error control mechanisms. Is it clear 5H4? Now, uh, okay. Now, routing will be taken care by one layer. So there is one layer who will be using address called IP address. Okay, to see where exactly a person is there and how to deliver this information, where exactly the system is there and how to deliver the information to that system and how to go to that particular person. So when I ask you to go to Mumbai, you will be deciding how to go to Mumbai. Okay, you will be taking a let's say a bike and you're going to a bus stand. From there, you are going to take a train. If you don't have a train directly to, I mean, Mumbai, you are going to Hyderabad. From there, you are going to take another train, and from there, you are going to go to Mumbai. Again, from that Mumbai railway station, you are going to take a taxi. For example, you are going to reach a so and so location. So that is how you are going to plan your route from your home to so and so location. So in the same way, there is one layer who will be taking this with the help of an address called IP address. Now, this addressing, so I said IP address to go to so and so system. So మీరు ఆ సిస్టమ్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళారమ్మా. When you send a message, a WhatsApp message, the message reached your friend mobile, but not the friend's. Uh, I mean, what is that? WhatsApp application. It received by your friend's mobile, but not the WhatsApp application. So how you are going to handle that? So because of that, there are actually different addressing and naming mechanisms in different layers. Okay, I'm going to mention that there is IP address, as I said previously, which is going to used in one layer for routing purpose also, and there is another address called MAC address. Okay, and there is another address called port address. Okay, so these three addresses will be used in different levels of delivering the information. Okay, like for example, if you take a postal communication, when you send a letter, they will be using different, you maybe think that you are writing one address, but what you are writing is combination of addresses. So one part of that address is pin. Okay, so when you pin code, when you write 53340 534 101, for example, the post office people are going to only consider that pin code for moving that letter from one location to another location, one town to another town. They are not going to see anything else on the top of that pin code. మీరు రాసే నేమ్ కానీ లేకపోతే దాని కింద రాసే డోర్ నెంబర్, స్ట్రీట్ నేమ్, ఆర్ area, or town, district, etc., they are not at all going to see anything. They are simply going to concentrate first on the pin code, because pin code is their identification. Okay, postal department's identification for every town, they are going to use that actually. Okay, then based on that pin code, when that letter comes to so and so location, what they are going to do is, the post, when it is a big city, there will be multiple postmans divided for multiple areas. So first they will look at the area. So okay, this is so and so area, so this letter must be delivered by so and so person. Okay, again that person is going to see on the street name and door number to deliver that letter to so and so person, so and so house, not person. In that house, the name of the person will be used to deliver that information to so and so person in that house. So there are so many different addressing parts involved there. In the same way, in our network communication, we have three types of addresses: MAC address, okay, and IP address, and port address. So these things we are going to use. So different layers uses different types of addressing in different levels of communication. Okay, and scalability. See, the network is growing a lot. 10 years back, the number of devices are very limited. Now the number of devices are growing exponentially. So when the network becomes bigger and bigger, you must not get issues. Okay, there must be a easy mechanism to include more and more devices to your network. So that is another issue. And flow control. So flow control means when I speaking, when I delivering my lecture, if I am not, I am in higher pace compared to you, that means I am speaking fastly and you are not able to understand what I am speaking, then immediately you will say that, sir, I am not able to get you. Can you speak slowly? Yes or no? So that is nothing but flow control. You are giving a feedback to me saying that, sir, slow down a little bit so that we are able to understand. I am not able to understand what you are saying. So that is nothing but a feedback which will take care of flow control. Okay. So if you are not able to, then along with the flow control, there is another thing called congestion control. That is nothing but traffic control. Okay. So there are, as I said, billions of devices involved in the communication. So when a person sends a message, the message must be delivered in a way that it won't be waiting at every point of connecting device. It must be delivered as quickly as possible without providing any congestion control. So as 5H1 said, when you get server busy means you tried for more time, but you are not able to deliver. I mean, your request is not able to reach to the server because of so much traffic in the network. Okay, there is some even breakdowns in the network. Then you will see a message saying that the server is busy. Okay, so these are all the different design issues that we are going to handle in our network software: reliability, routing, address, scalability. So scalability is provided indirectly. We are not going to discuss about scalability individually. Whatever we are going to discuss about the remaining things will clear this scalability. So flow control is provided in two layers, in two levels. Congestion control is provided in one layer. Okay, so all these layers are going to share the work. So that is about these design issues. There is one more design issues, very important one. So that is QoS, quality of service, especially in real-time services. So real-time services means, as I said, VoIP calls and this video conferencing, where the messages must be delivered as quickly as possible. If there is a, discontinuation in the message, it must be skipped. Otherwise, the entire communication will lose its things. So such things must be there. So quality of service, how much quality of service you need? Okay, instant messaging needs low quality of service. This video conferencing need very high quality of service. Compared to all these things, gaming requires very high compared to everything else. So if I write it down all the services, I can say email service is the least, web service is the least, email is the second least, instant messaging is the third, and video broadcasting is 4, VoIP is 5, video conferencing is 6, and gaming is 7. Okay, so that is how much quality you need in that services. So that must be taken care by these layers. So how to provide the specified quality? So depending on which type of service you are requiring, the corresponding quality must be provided. Okay, so instant message key is 7th level quality provide system. It is not at all needed. సో మీరు ఈమెయిల్ పంపించారు, ఈమెయిల్ ఇమ్మీడియట్ గా సర్వర్ కి డెలివరీ అయిపోవాలంటే అవ్వాల్సిన అవసరం లేదమ్మా. ఎందుకంటే ఈమెయిల్, ద రిసీవర్ ఈమెయిల్ అనేదే మనం పంపించేది ఇమ్మీడియట్ డెలివరీ అవసరం లేకపోతే. ఇమ్మీడియట్ గా ఎవరికైనా ఒక మెసేజ్ పంపించారంటే వీ వాంట్ చూసింగ్ ఈమెయిల్, విల్ బి చూసింగ్ ఇన్స్టెంట్ మెసేజ్. ఓకే, ఇప్పుడు మీ ఫ్రెండ్ కి ఏదైనా ఒక ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ కన్వే చేయాలనుకున్నారు అనుకోండి. సో ఇఫ్ దట్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్, యూ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు సెండ్ వాట్సాప్ మెసేజ్. ఇఫ్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఇంపార్టెంట్, యూ ఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు కాల్ హిమ్. So there itself you are deciding how much quality is needed for the service. Along with you, your software is going to provide you a specific quality for your asked service. Okay, so that is about the design issues. So since it is already 10:40, I'm not going to continue this session. So we are going to discuss about this connection oriented versus connectionless, and one more, these two are small topics. We are going to finish these topics in the first 10 minutes of tomorrow's class, and we are going to continue with the tomorrow's session. So if you have no doubts, you can leave the session. If you have any doubts, you can stay and you can ask. Amma Lakshmi Durga. She left. G2 is there. Yeah. 5G2, you ask me a question, sir. Is there any hash code for particular layer? What exactly is your question? I'm not able to understand what exactly you are asking. You can ask again. Hash code means what you are asking. Are you asking whether any layer in the network software will generate a hash code for the message? G2. Okay. So when I show you the networks layers, in one layer I told you are going to add a tail also. Okay, along with header, you are going to add a tail. So that tail is something which help you in error correction or detection. So where that error correction or detection will be using a similar mechanism like hashing. Okay, so your entire message, if you provide hashing, the receiver will know is there any change in the received message or not during the transmission. Okay, that means is there any error happened in the communication or not. In the same way, we are using other error correction and detection mechanisms. For transmitting information, there is no need of any hash code unless you provide some security. Okay, if you are providing security means obviously you will be generating hash codes. Okay, that in depth, if you want to understand, you need to wait for 1 or 2 more semesters, because you will be having one subject called cryptography and network security, where you will be learning about how to provide security by using encryption and hashing in network communication. So ఒక ఎగ్జాంపుల్ అయితే చెప్తున్నానమ్మా విను. So whenever you log in, normally your password is not going to go to the server. When you enter your username and password, your username and password is not going to go to the server. Instead of that, a hash will be generated on your password. So as long as your password is same, hash will not be changing. Are you familiar with this concept or not? When you generate hashing, same information will always generate the same hash. Okay, a hash function will always generate the same hash as long as the input is same. Now, when you give your password as input, it will always generate the same hash. So that hash is going to be transmitted from your browser to the server. The server will compare your transmitted hash with the hash in its memory, in its database. సో నార్మల్గా మీరు ఫస్ట్ టైం రిజిస్టర్ అయినప్పుడు మీ పాస్వర్డ్ ఎంటర్ చేస్తారు. మీరేమనుకుంటారంటే మీ పాస్వర్డ్ వెళ్ళి సర్వర్లో సేవ్ అవుతుంది అనుకుంటారు. బట్ యువర్ పాస్వర్డ్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఎట్ ఆల్ సేవ్డ్ ఇన్ ద సర్వర్. యువర్ పాస్వర్డ్ విల్ బి కన్వర్టెడ్ ఇంటూ ఏ హ్యాష్ ఇన్ యువర్ బ్రౌజర్ ఇట్ సెల్ఫ్. దట్ హ్యాష్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి transmitted to the server. The server is going to store that hash. When you re-enter your password, instead of password, again a hash will be going to the server. Now it will compare that two hashes. So it will see, okay, the hashes are the same, so the user is safe. If the hashes are not same, that means the password is wrong. That is how your password is kept safely. అదే ఉంది. ఇది ఎక్కడ జరుగుతుంది అంటే మీరు యూజ్ చేసే వెబ్సైట్ HTTPS వెబ్సైట్స్ అయితే, మీరు యూజ్ చేసే వెబ్సైట్ HTTP వెబ్సైట్స్ అంటే అక్కడ సెక్యూరిటీ లేదంటే మీరు పాస్వర్డ్ ఎంటర్ చేసింది యాజ్ ఇట్ ఈజ్ గా వెళ్తుంది, ఎన్క్రిప్ట్ అవ్వట్లేదు, హ్యాష్ అవ్వట్లేదు. అర్థమైందమ్మా? G2. H1, okay, good. Sir, does the sender and receiver will use module? If so, does that module contain both functionalities? I'm not able to get 507. I'm not able to get your question. What exactly meant by module in your view? And what is meant by both functionalities? What functionalities you are talking about? If you are clear, if you give me more clarity on the question, I can explain it clearly. Okay, your meaning is encryption and decryption. Yes, of course. Normally in our computer networks, we are going to discuss about 5 layers. Okay, so I'm going to tell now itself for you especially. So the 5 layers are application layer and transport layer, network layer, data link layer, physical layer. So these layers will take care of delivering your information as it is. They are not going to provide any security. But later, when the security became a major issue, they added few more layers and optional layers in between, which are going to learn in CNS subject in the coming semesters, cryptography and network security. There are few layers called SSL layer and TLS layer, IPsec layer. So IPsec means IP security, SSL means secure socket layer, TLS means transport layer security. So these layers will contain the functions, as you asked, the modules, which will contains both encryption and decryption and hashing, all the types of security related functionalities with them, depending on what type of services they are providing to you. Okay, is it clear now? Good. So any more doubts? If not, okay. Like in army communication asked by 5H1, of course, encryption is actually first invented for army communication, not now. In the olden days, Romans are used a specific type of encryption device. Let me just give me a minute. H1, are you able to see my screen? The image on the right side? Yeah. See, this is an old device. You can't imagine, you can't even say how many years back. It's like few hundred years back they used this technique. So they used to have two things with them. One is a spear-like structure as shown on the right side. Okay, the spear's diameter is fixed. If a sender is using, say, for example, 4 centimeter spear with, say, 6 faces as shown here, the receiver must use same dimensions. Now, you take a ribbon, you wind that ribbon around this spear, you write your message. Just give me a minute. You write your message like this, so in the straight lines, not along the ribbon but along the face of each side. Okay, then you open the ribbon. Now if you look at the ribbon, you are not able to understand because the continuous letters will not be side by side. Now when you open this on the receiving side, what they need to do is they need to again do the same thing. Again they need to take the same size sphere and they need to wind this ribbon in the same format, then they need to read it in the same way. సో ఇది ఒక ఎన్క్రిప్షన్ మెకానిజం అమ్మ. సో ఇది మిలిటరీలోనే యూస్ చేశారు. బిగినింగ్ లో మనకి ఇప్పటిలాగా మొబైల్స్ లేకపోతే ఏం లేవు కాబట్టి అప్పట్లో కమ్యూనికేట్ చేసుకోవాలి అంటే ఈ క్యారియర్స్ కి ఇచ్చి ఈ మెసేజెస్ పంపించేవాళ్ళు. ఈవెన్ బర్డ్స్ కి ఇచ్చో లేకపోతే పర్సన్స్ కి ఇచ్చో పంపించేవారు. సో వాళ్ళకి కూడా ఈ మెసేజెస్ అర్థం కాకూడదు అంటే ఇలాంటి ఒక ఎన్క్రిప్షన్ మెకానిజం యూస్ చేయాలి. సో సెండర్ అండ్ రిసీవర్ సేమ్ టైప్ థింగ్స్ యూస్ చేస్తేనే అర్థం చేసుకోగలరు. ఇప్పుడు నేను 4 సెంటీమీటర్ డయామీటర్ యూస్ చేశాను, రిసీవర్ 10 సెంటీమీటర్స్ యూస్ చేయడం అనుకో, కే పక్కకి ఏ ఎస్ఓ లేకపోతే నెక్స్ట్ ఏ సమ్ అదర్ లెటర్ వస్తుంది. సో అప్పుడు మొత్తం మెసేజ్ మారిపోతుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ వన్ థింగ్ యూ నీడ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్. సో సెండర్ ఏం చేస్తున్నారు, దానికి ఎగ్జాక్ట్ ఆపోజిట్ సిమిలర్ థింగ్ రిసీవర్ చేయగలిగితేనే రిసీవర్ అర్థం చేసుకోగలరు. సెండర్ ఒకలా చేసి రిసీవర్ ఇంకొకలా చేస్తే మెసేజ్ అర్థం కాదు. క్లియర్? So no more doubt means I'm going to end the session. Okay, I'm ending the session. So from next class onwards, we'll be going to have some quizzes also.